Bem-vindo a mais uma edição do MacCast especial 7º Fórum de Aprendizagem Transformadora. A gente que está falando desses dias de ensino híbrido, inteligência artificial no ensino superior, e agora a gente vai bater um papo com o professor Husam Aldamen, que é um especialista internacional e está com a gente à distância aqui para falar um pouquinho mais desse tema. Good morning, professor. How are you?
Good morning. I'm fine, thank you.
That's great. Professor, I'm going to start to ask you about this new environment that we are facing nowadays with the advancement of artificial intelligence and changes in the job market. What skills should the teachers develop with more emphasis in the classroom space?
Thank you for asking this very important and intelligent question. I think the debate should begin with the following. Are we familiar with AI? I think generative AI, which has, of course, exploded on the scene, began in early 2023, although AI has been around for quite some time. So if we're talking about this new adoption of AI or the new form of AI, I think we have to think differently than what we were thinking in the past. So my advice is this. Number one, we have to accept AI as a fact in our life as much as we have accepted the internet in our life 25 years ago. Some people rejected the internet in the mid-90s, late 90s, and then they quickly had to embrace. Same thing with artificial intelligence. To answer your question regarding the skills, number one, we have to understand what are the problems that are existing today that AI can help. I can give one suggestion. Lack of student engagement. So we can use AI, we have to use AI in order to make sure that we're able to interact with our students and to deliver the message and to keep them engaged and on message. In order for us to also understand the skills that the students need, we have to also understand that by the time our current students graduate, so this is in 2027 or 2028, the world will even change even more. So we have to make sure that we take into account not just what's happening now, but where will things be in the future. So in short, there is no way we can ignore AI. We have to use AI as an ally, as a friend, in order for us to move along with the times. And if we try to resist it, I think our students will go from around us and they will be using it, of course, maybe in a positive way, in a negative way, but I would prefer that they use it with my guidance and we put it together to help us engage with them more.
That's great, Professor. Thank you. So what do you have any example, just to make the point, about how can we use this artificial intelligence just for engagement with the students? Because I think this is one of the major points, because if the students understand that the teachers are getting lost in this new technology and etc., or if they are afraid of using it, I think we will have a gap between the students and the teachers. And so how can teachers look to these tools, these platforms, and use them to engage the student? Do you have one or two examples?
Sure. So, of course, we know that there are two kinds of modalities that are being talked about in the forum today. Mm-hmm. So we have the traditional method, and then we have the blended method. So I'm going to begin with the traditional so that I can give advice to all modalities. In the traditional method, teachers could use generative AI, large language model like, for example, Chatgpt, or through Bing, or through any of the platforms that will be coming up soon, in order to give students the ability and the empowerment to find some of the solutions on their own through Chatgpt, for example. And this could be done in a very fun way. You can give information that is perhaps not so correct, or there are problems that you know are existing, and you can ask them to take that to Chatgpt and maybe come back with something that is a bit more correct.
Beautiful.
So instead of giving them questions to ask and then receive answers, instead give them answers, and then maybe some of those answers are not 100% correct, and then they go back and in a circular way, and then they find something that is perhaps a bit more correct. In the flipped classroom or the blended, let's say, model, there are so many different ways that you can engage students through ChatGPT. It's endless, practically endless. One of the ways is for you to go to ChatGPT, for example, and obtain information that is not in the curriculum already. Yeah, it could be fictitious cases. It could be additional information outside the curriculum. You take it to the students, yeah, and then you provide them with this information that they did not have before. In a different way, what needs to be done here is we need to make sure that we solve problems with AI. This is very critical. We don't just want to use AI for the sake of AI. We need to say, what problems, what deficiencies do I have? I will give you some problems here. Maybe I have students that are overachievers. They are very, very clever, but they are being held back because, they are too fast. So I can challenge them more with AI. Beautiful. Maybe I have on the other side of the spectrum, I have very academically challenged students. I can use AI to bring them up a little bit. Maybe I have students that have physical problems. They cannot attend. So I'm using the blended method. I can use AI to provide them with information that they can read at home. So the space is endless, but perhaps the single most important thing is simulation and role playing. You can use AI to pretend to be anything that you want it to be. So if you're an engineer, you can say, ChatGPT, pretend that you're such and such, and then engage the student. If you're teaching law, or if you're a lawyer, you can say, ChatGPT, pretend that you're a judge, and this is the case. So you can engage students in these role playing that was perhaps not even available 1 year ago. This is very new, and it's, of course, available to everybody.
That's amazing, Professor, because with this, the flipped classroom methodology, used with the artificial intelligence. So your tip is for the teachers to use and interact with these tools so we can engage the students, and of course use these role model players. It's like a way to interact more and more with these tools. And in this model, correct me if I'm wrong, but the professor is a kind of filter and a guide, so he can walk the students through this new knowledgement without them losing their engagement and etc. Is that right?
That is correct. Let's assume we don't have AI. How do I get to this, what you have just described? Maybe I will need 7 of my colleagues to be with me. One is tutor, one is somebody who's answering questions at night only, somebody who's going to be role-playing, somebody who's going to be generating cases, somebody who's going to be giving translation, because of course in Brazil, in the Middle East, we don't use English as the main language, so we're constantly translating from various languages. So let's assume you have 7 different people working with you to help you to achieve this objective. Now, you and I know that that's not reality. There's only one person. It's only you or it's only me in the classroom. So how can we use AI to take the place of all of those individuals? How can I use AI to help me translate content? How can I use AI for role playing? How can I use AI to produce new cases, fictitious cases? So all of these things, once we string them together, they are actually a big menu for engagement. And of course, it might seem overwhelming for some people. My advice is begin small. My advice is try to use AI to solve an existing problem for you. So what's the problem in the classroom? Is it too many students? Is it students coming late? Is it students not attending? Is it students that are attending but they're not being engaged? So let's identify what is the problem in our classroom. And of course, each person has a different set of problems. We use AI to help us alleviate that problem. Now, this is what I mentioned in my talk as sustainable innovation. So it's not just innovation for the sake of saying that Husam is an innovator. Instead, I am seeking help from AI to help me solve a problem. That's the main point that I want to deliver today.
That's great, Professor. Thank you very much. We think, well, the professors and the teachers, they have a lot to think, a lot of questions to answer, but it's nice to know that artificial intelligence could be used to help all of them in this new era that we are coming through. And I want to thank you again for your participation.
May I add just one last thing, if I may?
Of course. Be free, please.
Thank you so much. I think we have not talked about students with disabilities, because AI can help us reach some form of equality. So students with disabilities, it could be hearing, vision, mobility. AI can provide them with some amount of substitute for their existing issues. So here we are reaching the strong students through AI. We're catering to them. Here we're reaching the academically challenged students. And here also we're talking about the people with disabilities. So I think AI is an opportunity for us to have a democratic forum in order for us to make sure that we have equality and equity between all of our students.
That's great. And it's a very nice way of view, because artificial intelligence could, well, at least make lesser or diminish this difference between the students and help us through all these models. That's amazing. Thank you again, Professor.
Thank you so much for having me. Much appreciated.
Você está então no MacCast especial 7º Fórum de Aprendizagem Transformadora, falando sobre tecnologia, inteligência artificial e muito mais para ver esse novo modelo do ensino superior. Fica aqui com a gente, você está no MacPlay.